Well, I'm going to combine the last couple of questions that we had here because we only have about 5 minutes remaining in the time that we allotted. And those questions were, what are your fears, concerns, and challenges, and are there any problems that are emerging that we ought to pay attention to in the college? And those two questions kind of fit together, and I'm going to ask each of you very briefly to address those questions, if you would, in whatever order.
Well, and this has been part of an ongoing discussion, is this work in service learning requires extra effort in terms of teaching and logistics and everything else. It is, in the learning communities, it is overlaid on another set of objectives that require extra work, extra effort, and such. And I continue to worry about faculty simply giving up or getting tired of these things. It requires a lot. Almost all of us are very enthusiastic about doing it, but eventually it wears on you. And eventually you get pulled in other directions. So an ongoing concern is replenishment and resources for the folks that are doing this. And I think without that, eventually this is going to fade away, quite honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me the most difficult thing is when I'm in the middle of teaching a service learning class, I say, give me a nice graduate class where I have a schedule and I know exactly what I read and what I teach what day, and it's predictable. And I feel like with my service learning, it's always like this balance between flying by the seat of my pants because my community partners, there's something happening and this is happening with the students, and creating a structure. And, after 4 years, I still haven't figured it out. So it's this continuous struggle, and I think the students find that too, that if you empower them to choose a project, it's very difficult ahead of time to plan out everything. And I even find that sometimes there are experiences the students have where I have to change my readings because I feel, okay, here's something that's coming up that they really need to think about together. So it's like, it's really stressful. It's
interesting
really stressful.
that you mentioned that because I'm doing that very thing in my class right now, changing readings to meet the needs. Yeah, interesting.
Well, since we're talking about, I guess, challenges, one would be actually one that we kind of skipped over is the issue of transportation, getting students to and from places is, I also encourage and tell, Hazel was really easy. I actually take the bus and live that direction, so I know it myself. I tell them it's very easy how to do it, and some are able to do it. Some fears, definitely students have, I think, an incapability of taking the buses. So transportation is one major issue, definitely. But the second also issue, I really would like to see more. If the key word for service learning, then it's not just volunteerism, it's this reciprocity. I really like to see one of the ways I think that the college or the university can give back is to bring. It shouldn't be an exoticism that we just go out there and look at these groups of people, but that literally we have a symbiotic relationship. So that should involve bringing people here and where we can provide, resources that fit. I think that it should take place. So.
Thanks, Erin.
Well, fortunately, our community partner is located within walking distance, so we didn't have to deal with transportation issues, but I did find that we had to give our students the talk about being prudent and cautious when walking to and from the site, in particular because one of our students said that her book bag was stolen when she was walking back from the community partners site. However, it was her book bag which contained a notebook. It wasn't her purse, so she didn't have her homework assignment, but it was still something that was traumatizing to her. So I then contacted Evan actually and asked him how he thought I should approach the matter, and I talked to my class, as did Dr. Vincent and Sarah Miller.
Just echo these comments because I also looked at the two questions on there, and they were a combination to me, safety and transportation, because and Lena came to do a survey, and I told her at the time, this is the Achilles heel of this activity, I think, because just by the nature of what we've been doing, we're sending small groups of students out to multiple sites where they cannot walk back and forth, and so it's been very much ad hoc in terms of how we work the transportation arrangements. And some of the organizations are willing to come pick up, some aren't. Either way, the students are at risk of personal safety when they're out on the roads and all those kinds of things. So as positive as the experience is, I do think that we need to wrestle with the question of how we're going to make sure that the kids are first of all, that they're not digging into their own pockets for the transportation expenses, which has been the case at some points. But secondly, how we maintain their personal safety while they're going back and forth from these activities.
Thank you. Norman?
So, transportation isn't a problem for me because the county jail's right there, and hopefully I should be able to walk there without getting hit by a car. That's not always. So, the first day of class, the students were all sitting around talking, and one of them was talking about the clothes that his mother didn't allow him to bring to college, and it just struck me like how young these kids are and how the maturity level of kids 3 months out of high school is very, very different than what I usually, you never have a whole class, and that scares me to death. So.
That's definitely a unique feature of the learning
Yeah.
communities. You're dealing with a variety of students. Well, please join me in thanking this panel for their participation today.